Hello there.
Good morning, everybody. From time to time, we address some of the basic principles of contemplative spirituality. We've done that by discussing prayer, spiritual direction, authentic self, image of God. So those are big building blocks that's very important for our spiritual life. But it's almost like a motto that we have, and it's not a motto that we've decided on, but it's almost part of our longing to have an authentic life, is where we say it's good and well to have all those building blocks, but we have to live contemplatively.
Yeah, those things must be concretized in life.
Yeah.
It must be grounded in life. They must find their expression in our lives.
And the fact is, they do. They do express themselves there, and we have to become sensitive in reading our lives and to pick it up, because the beauty is it's not one step removed, as if it is something foreign to our lives. It's interwoven into daily living.
Because it would be a useless spirituality if it was completely something separated, if it was something outside, somewhere else that we attend to for an hour to a day and then come back to our lives. What use would it have? How would it inform our lives if that was the case?
Yeah. So there's almost a movement from, we know these things are very important, those big issues that we touched upon, and we see them playing out in our lives. We pick up the threads there, and it's beautiful to see how it becomes practical. But often something emerges from our lives that we haven't touched upon before, and we say, well, maybe I have to look at this. And then it moves the other way around. And from there, we discover a bigger principle.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so we were thinking of just taking an example from our lives and taking the last week, which was a difficult one for George, and maybe just discuss what insight it gave you.
Difficult, not in difficult, but I mean...
It wasn't fun, let's put it that way.
Last week has been a very busy week. We're in the final stages of the stonework and the concrete in the chapel. So we were pouring the slabs for the floor and the stoop. So we were quite busy. And then from the weekend, I realized I'm coming down with flu. And this whole week I was under the weather. And really I wasn't up to any manual labor and so on. I had to lie low. And every time something like that happens, you realize how important productivity and busyness and ticking off to-do lists and all of that, how important it is to us.
And it's like we have in our minds a certain timetable of by what time, what should be done, should have been finished. And when something like that comes in and puts a spanner in the works, it really throws us off balance. And we sit with a lot of guilt, a lot of frustration. We force ourselves. It was interesting, you were feeling guilty because you couldn't work. I was thinking, the chances are very good that I will catch this from you. And that means I have only a couple of days that I must really do everything I can to get ahead with my orders in the studio. And I must push this, because the moment I feel like you do, I'm not going to be able to work, and that will put me behind on my schedule.
So you try to get ahead
so
that you don't fall behind.
Yes, exactly that. Yeah. So just in the middle, in our life, I was planning ahead for getting ill.
For falling behind.
That the worst case scenario type of thinking.
Fortunately, you're so positive.
Yes, fortunately I can. Yeah, I made such a great plan. I was just working myself to death.
But the fact of the matter is, because it touches now from this way around to a principle, one of our wisest guides is our body.
Yeah.
We always say, and we say we big prophets of that. One of our wisest teachers is our body, and the body always knows. Long before the head knows or anything, the body knows. And the body slows us down and gives us a message. But how often it happens that we ignore that message?
It just doesn't have priority, because we conditioned in this, in the social or in the cultural life, that success looks like this and effectivity looks like this, and being ill or our body is not coping and telling us does not fit into that.
Yeah.
So we force,
it's merely an interruption.
Yeah, we force the river.
Yes, that's a nice expression.
Yeah. And it's also, I'm thinking that, like we were talking about finding and learning your dialect with God, I think in a lot of instances, we also, our bodies have a dialect, a way. My body might be telling me in a different way than yours what it needs and what's wrong.
Or certain things pop up when you're under stress, and say for instance there's a knot between your shoulders. That's a sign now you're under stress. Somebody else might have a pain on the stomach,
yes,
or a headache, or whatever, but
So
that's the
a good
dialect.
example. That's a dialect, and it's a unique dialect again, like our God dialect. And for us to take that seriously and not just pop a pill for the symptom, because I have a stomach ache, what the heck, I have a lot of work to do, just drink something to make the cramps go away and carry on. So we totally put our bodies and ourselves at the back of, or at the bottom of the priority list, and we push on. And we are talking from personal experience how difficult we find it to stay in, or to go back to that core trust in our bodies, trust in God, trust in the greater rhythm, and living in that rhythm.
Yes.
And it's a natural rhythm. It's nothing weird, or it's seasons. You always say that in winter you feel that you want to draw in, you want to go quieter. And I think it was meant to be like that. And to do that, not to force yourself. I find it so difficult to wake up in winter because it's still dark.
Yeah.
It's like my body says, no, it's still night, the sun isn't up. In the summer, when the sun is up, I wake up very early because my body knows.
So it starts on a very personal level with our bodies, but it very quickly fans out into the outside world and nature and the rhythms of nature, because all over we're forcing our programs and our schedules and our rhythm onto things and distorting that. And not only is it detrimental to our bodies, but it's also detrimental to the planet.
What we actually do it exactly to the planet, what we're doing to ourselves.
Yes, isn't it?
On a much larger scale, of course, and because we're doing it collectively. So it's and like you say, it's such a pity that that it's become so detached from us, that we are living a type of life that is totally causing an imbalance in ourselves, an imbalance in nature.
And it is so important to look at this because our lives depend on it. Without being over dramatic but the planet is in a terrible state.
Yes, I think as people with not a lot of knowledge about that, we have no idea how serious it is.
Yeah.
We actually do not know. And it's difficult on a personal level and then on a global level to keep, if you truly believe in living more naturally, to keep going back, because it's counterintuitive actually.
Yes.
It's counter-cultural.
Cultural.
It's counter-productivity. That's the way it feels. I mean, often I think if we do stay in bed with flu for 7 days and we get up from there, we will do better than when we force ourselves all through the 7 days to do things and get even worse.
Yeah.
So we think it's counterproductive to rest our bodies.
Yeah.
But we are totally fooling ourselves.
Yeah.
But how? How do we reset? How do we because we will always be going into that groove. It's a groove that's set. So we need to have a way of resetting.
Yeah, we tend to drift
before you know it. So how? What would you say? What do we need to address or do?
Well, talking from a personal perspective, I think one should let go of something of an arrogance where we think everything revolves around us. Evolves. That we are the center of everything. I often think that it is a sad interpretation when we take that we are the crown of creation, to take that as the rulers and exploiters of creation.
Yeah, that everything's just there for the taking.
Yes. There's such a big responsibility going with that. And it's a discovering that we are part of this whole. So that is something important that I constantly have to discover. My place in everything.
And the irony is that we do in fact have the power to completely destroy the planet.
Yeah.
We do have that. And on the flip side, we are so vulnerable and so insignificant in the bigger picture of the planet's life, that if we were to be erased from this, if the human race would be to go extinct, the planet will just continue. And be better off. So that puts things a little bit into perspective of exactly where we stand. It's a bit of a paradox that we sit with such power for the good or for the bad.
Yeah, so we have to find our place within that, and we have to have a spirituality that makes us sensitive to who we are, not mere rational creatures, but bodily creatures, and being sensitive to other life forms, because it's a spiritual aspect. It's not only science, it's spiritual. Do I have respect? And it might sound Greenpeace-like or greeny or whatever. It's good theology. It is good theology. And if somebody wants to tell you anything else, they don't understand the heart of God. It's as simple as that.
And I think if you live in a spirituality where you are not taught or led to be respectful in terms of nature and rhythms, then maybe you have to look at it again, because it cannot be divorced from the nature, and us physically. Our physical lives cannot be divorced from our spirituality.
Yeah. A spirituality that's only focused on private salvation is a poor spirituality. It has to look at the bigger picture and help us to find our place in that. So a lot of things sorry, a lot of things that we
You
touch.
need to go back to bed.
Just a little hint there. From this, helping us look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So thank you for...
Just maybe mention the Green Renaissance that you... yeah. So usually we put on a music video on the blog with our chats, but this time round we're going to put on a video of the Green Renaissance movement, which is just beautiful. They have the most beautiful Patreon site and these wonderfully filmed short videos on people's lives, and it's just such a gem that we discovered, and we would like to share some of that with you in terms of our discussion.
But keep well. Thank you for being part of the conversation, and we'll talk again next week.
Yes, have a good week, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.